Welcome into Sports Talk at the Stadium. Kevin McCrary here at Williams-Brice Stadium, where USC did manage to get a win over East Carolina. And look, I'm not going to sit here and ever knock the Gamecocks for how they get these wins this season. Any win this team gets is huge, no matter how they get it. And it's not going to be pretty a lot of times this season. I keep saying that over and over and over again. I know fans want to see the offense open up and do more things. They want to see more big plays. They want to see a complete, perfect game probably. I mean, you want that every week. It's just not going to come right away with this Gamecock football team. But you heard Will Muschamp. If you haven't, you can check out the story we posted here at sportstalksc.com. He's certainly not going to complain. He's very proud about how his team performed against East Carolina, a team that knocked off NC State last week, a team that easily could have come in here and picked up a win, but the Gamecocks found a way to get it done. Brandon McElwain with his debut certainly gave them a little spark. Initially, the Gamecocks shot out. It looked like they were going to blow these guys out of the water. They scored 17 points in the first quarter, and you're going, whoa, well, where did this come from? Then they kind of had to hang on there at the end, but they made the plays when they needed to. You know, you look at the stats, and stats don't always tell the whole story. And yards, I've heard coaches say this many times, yards are empty stats. It doesn't really matter. And East Carolina picked up over 500 yards of offense. They had 34 first downs to USC's 13, but they lost a football game because they turned it over 4 times, and 3 of those turnovers were in the end zone for plays that didn't amount to anything when they were going in to score a touchdown. They had a field goal block, so they left a lot out there. But give the Gamecocks credit, and part of the game plan was to bend but not break. With that offense, Will Muschamp gave them the underneath passes and knew when they got in tight, they were going to have a hard time running the ball, and they could jump some of those routes. So in his mind, it was a beautiful game plan. Everything worked perfectly. They won. He's all about winning. The offense made the plays when they had to. I really like what Brandon McElwain brings. He does have that poise. He has it when it comes to the poise in the pocket. He didn't turn the ball over. That's huge for a freshman. He didn't force anything that wasn't there. I know in those zone reads, it looked like there were some times he needed to keep that ball instead of handing it off and maybe running. Muschamp explained that was maybe a little bit on them because they were telling him set before he made the play to hand the ball off, so there weren't any of those exchanges, which can get a little goofy when you're not used to working on that zone read and pulling it back. But that's going to be something that they're going to have to work on because defenses seem to be keying in on him handing it off, and it looked like there were some runs there to be had for him to the outside. They got the big 4th down and 1 conversion to pick up the first down on an option play. I was cringing. It's 4th and about an inch, and they're in the shotgun. That drives me crazy. You have this far to go, and then you're going to turn it into 5 yards. But it worked out that time. Now, they had a 4th down where they were stopped and stuffed earlier. So I'm going to have to be news. You already saw this, Captain Obvious here. The offensive line still did not perform up to the standards that many of us thought they would be playing at. That was supposed to be the strength of this team. They weren't the strength of the team again tonight. They had some problems, and they're going to have to figure those things out. East Carolina is not a bad football team, but they're not Georgia. They're not Tennessee. They're not Florida. They're not I don't know that they're Kentucky. Maybe Kentucky put 60 points on the board tonight for their first win, so we'll see 60-plus points. So we'll see how it goes for the Gamecocks next week. But a win is a win, and I said this in the preseason. I'll say it again now. They're going to have to scratch and claw for every single yard, every single stop that they get with this football team. If they get to 6 wins, and they're going to have to work really hard to get there, and I still think that's the benchmark. That's the goal. That's what you're shooting for. They're going to have to really, really dig to get them. But the way they responded from last week, I thought they were going to play well tonight. I thought they were going to play their best game. How well did they play? Well, I do think it was their best game. They didn't play great. It wasn't flawless. It wasn't anything that you're going to put in the Hall of Fame, and it's not going to be on an instant classic on ESPN anytime soon. But the end result was home opener for the first time in 2 years. They're 3 games into the season, and they're only 1 win short of what their total was last year. And they have another road game next week where they're going to have a chance to win. It's going to be another toss-up game against Kentucky. I would imagine that spread's going to be less than a touchdown, maybe around 2 or 3 points, maybe close to a pick 'em, slight edge to Kentucky since they're at home. And they scored a bunch of points, but it'll be a winnable opportunity for the Gamecocks. But through 3 games, I think if somebody would have said in August, hey, the Gamecocks are going to open up with 2 road SEC games and then a home game against East Carolina, they're going to be 2-1 after that. Do you take it? Yes. And I see the defense making strides, making plays, gaining some confidence. They were rushing the quarterback, getting hits on the quarterback, sacks, things that we just quite frankly didn't see the past couple of years. Yes, they're still giving up some yards. Yes, they're still missing some tackles. But it's progress. It's going to be baby steps. There were some people on social media getting frustrated with the offense, thinking that Roper needs to open it up. He's got a true freshman at quarterback right now. You have a freshman running back. You have inexperienced wide receivers. You didn't even have Deebo Samuel because of the hamstring. So I think they have some guys that are pretty good out there at wide receiver, but they're still learning. So you don't go out there and just start throwing it all over the yard when you have that, because the one thing that would have got USC beat tonight, turnovers. If they didn't win the turnover battle, obviously they lose this football game. They protected the football. They forced the turnovers. They won. That's got to be their blueprint. They finding a way to grind out wins like they did at Vanderbilt, like they did against East Carolina in their home opener. So I think the progress is there. I think if you're South Carolina, you're plugging along. You're still in the game. You could have been buried. You could have lost that East Carolina game. You could have got smoked at Mississippi State. This game was in the balance. Could have gone either way if you don't get those turnovers. But they found a way to win 2 out of those 3. That's pretty good, given what they have. Your foundation is looking pretty good through almost the first quarter of the season. Now we'll be officially 25% through the season after next week. So good showing for the Gamecocks. No style points. You're not going to get style points this season, but you're getting wins, and you take win over style any day of the week. Appreciate you checking us out here. We'll have plenty more coming up throughout the weekend and into next week with the teleconferences that are good, bad, and the ugly coming up on Monday. Your reaction, your phone calls, all of that is something that we'll be looking forward to as well as we move into another game week and another recap coming up on Sports Talk. Appreciate you checking us out here at Sports Talk at the Stadium from Williams-Brice Stadium, where the Gamecocks knocked off East Carolina.